Hey Stuart, how you doing? You okay?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. How did you? Well, I guess formally, how did you guys kind of spend your bye weekend?
Yeah, so the players had a bit of time off in the previous week. So from a coach's perspective, on the weekend, actually, we were off. We were with our families, and then done a fair bit of work the back end of last week in preparation for Sarries, and then obviously came back in Monday as a group ready to go.
So I've watched back your game with Bristol. I mean, I think it is absolutely fair to say that you were robbed. I don't expect you to necessarily comment on that now, but what's the message to the team to stick with the big picture, and results will start coming your way pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think look, I'm not going to get into the conversation about what might have been from the game. The bit I will talk about is we had a driving line out at the end, 5 meters from the line, and we didn't score. We didn't put the ball over the line, which would have given us the chance of winning the game with a conversion. Now, what we were very clear on as a group, coaches and players, was we need to approach the week in the same way we would have done if we'd gone over that line, because the margins are that small, and what we can't be on is a roller coaster of a win-loss emotion. It's driven by our performance. We are hunting to win every single week. We want to win every single week, of course we do. But what we won't allow to happen is that our mood is dictated to by the win or the loss. And the way we show that is when we play, we put absolutely everything into it. There's, players. We talked this week about, as a coach or a player, you don't show how much you care by the look on your face after a game. You show how much you care by what you put into the game. And that's the way we go about our business.
I mean, this weekend, I would argue as tough as games go. What's your feelings ahead of it?
It's probably one of the biggest, well, if not the biggest challenge in the domestic game. It kind of opens up a solid period for us, which is, big Premiership games against quality sides. And obviously Sarries come with a tremendous pedigree in the competition and a group which is pretty settled after having a decent amount of time together. So they're a tough team in all facets. Like you talk about, where's their strength? Their strength is in their team. So unpicking that is definitely a challenge, but it's one that our players are up for, definitely.
And I mean, due to the timing of this game, it looks like you're going to get full noise Sarries as well, isn't it?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I'd imagine so. There's still a couple of people that they've held back, but I'd imagine a trip down to the Rec is probably the perfect one that they'd like to bring them out for.
And I imagine, I know you finished the game fairly strongly against Newcastle, but I imagine you feel like maybe you haven't given your home fans a true representation of yourself this year. Is that how you're feeling?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think based on the three performances we've had so far, certainly the one at home was the least impressive of the three. I thought at Sale, we had a poor first half, and then second half I thought we were outstanding, and then Bristol, for anyone to watch that and not be pleased with elements of the performance, I'd struggle to see that. So I think, yeah, we want to make sure that our supporters at home get the opportunity to see a performance and a win from playing like that. Yeah.
And I mean, Orlando Bailey got a lot of praise for his Bristol performance. It felt like he really stepped up.
Yeah, I think he did. I think thing with Orlando is, in the conversations we've had since the game, like he's learning all the time. And I've said on these calls before, you go back this season even, and the missed kick against Sale for him was kind of in the bank, and he was desperate for us to score that try in the corner at the end of the game against Bristol, so he'd have that same kick again to win the game. These are the types of things that the young man thinks about, and how he's become an integral part of our squad. And if you look at the way we played at Bristol and the 9, 10, 12 we had, being Ollie Fox, Orlando and Max Ajomo, I don't think there's many supporters out there who would think that would have been our starting 9, 10, 12, 3 games into the season and delivering a performance like that.
That said, have you got competition at fly half this week? How's Danny doing?
Yeah, Danny's doing pretty well. So he's back on the training park, and he's back involved in everything. So we've got some competition at fly half. Yeah,
that's great. I guess probably in that sense that weekend off came at a good time for you.
It did. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
And Joe Simpson, he's at Farley already, isn't he?
He is, yep. I can see him out the window right now, just coming off the training field. So yeah, he's definitely here.
That feels like an inspired mid-season transfer. You must be pretty happy. What do you feel like he's going to bring to you guys?
Well, first and foremost, we have very good quality young nines. So when I was looking for somebody to bring in, it wasn't looking to bring somebody in who was a young guy who could bring energy. It was somebody who's experienced, somebody who's been in the Premiership, and if we turn to them at whatever moment, then we know they've got a bank of experience to fall back on. And we get that with Joe. We also do get a great energy, exuberance, and a real desire to play the game at the highest level still. So no, I feel like it was a bit of business that was very pleasing. And obviously sometimes supporters want these things to be discussed sooner than they can be. But Joe was something that we were looking at for a while, and when we got the opportunity to get it done, we did and talked about it straight away.
How important was the fact that he kind of already has a relationship with Danny Cipriani, and that the two of them know that they can bring the best out of each other? Was that a big bit of your decision making?
It's a positive. But if Danny wasn't here and we had a different 10, then I would still have brought Joe in because of the reasons I said before. But yes, it's a positive that he's played with Sips, and they've had a partnership before.
And I think Ben Spencer put up some footage on social media of him running fairly quickly. Is he heading in the right direction for you?
He is actually, yeah. He was running well this week. He's really pushing on actually in his rehab. So he's not back into doing rugby yet, but he's doing his rehab running and doing very well at that. That's
great. And then we saw Talupe named in the Wales squad today, which of course everyone expected, but we've still not seen him for you. Are you ready to unleash him? Is there a reason you've held him back this long?
Yeah, no. So he's just getting back to fitness. So he's somebody who, obviously the naming of the Welsh squad is naming of a squad. They're not actually doing any training yet. So he's still building back up for us. He had a little rolled over on his ankle when he got back from the Lions here. So we're just making sure we get that right before he gets out there. He's not just being rested now. He's recovering from that little ankle roll.
Okay, that makes sense. I think a few people were surprised not to see Jaco Kutsia maybe again against Bristol. Was that just a selection issue?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, completely just selection. Jaco's come in, and he's been an outstanding young man. He's desperate to play. He had over the summer he had a COVID, so he had a decent amount of time out with COVID, travelled, caught in quarantine, all those sorts of things. It's just getting him up to speed. Like, I think when you look at the back row, John, like, it's competitive. We put Miles Reid on the bench against Bristol, and he was outstanding the week before. So Tommy Ellis came in against Bristol and was outstanding. So competition for places is hot, and Jaco just needs a bit more time to get himself physically ready to play the game we need him to play. But he's getting there. He's looking good. He's a very strong ball carrier, and we'll see him soon enough.
I guess he's one of those players that, with Talupe going away for most of the autumn, will likely have a big role to play during that time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, what we need to do is to make sure that he's fit and prepared and ready to get through that entire period. Hence the reason we're making sure we get him right first.
What's the situation with Will Spencer?
Yeah, so he's getting back now. He's back in full training. He picked up just a minor injury in pre-season, but again, there was a number of complications with isolations and such like, which are all things that we're now, pretty well versed in dealing with, unfortunately. But he's not far away now, Spenny. He's running well. He's back in parts of the team session, so it won't be long for him.
And just finally on that one, if you don't mind, Rory Mack, how's he doing?
Very good, very good. Roars is back involved in full training. Obviously, had a bit of time out from what he did the back end of last year, but he's back in full training. He's looking good, and won't be too long before we see him.
So it feels like to me that you've got pretty decent availability. Is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a couple of people. Obviously, the likes of Joe and Cam. You kind of forget about the longer term ones, don't you? But on the face of it, the short termers are turning around pretty well, and it'll be a while before we see some of the longer termers, like the likes of Cam and Ethan Stadden and those boys. But the short term has turned around pretty well, and we'll have a healthy selection debate tonight, that's for sure.
We're putting aside those long-term ones. The strongest Bath against the strongest Saracens is probably what we've got in store this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great one for the supporters, a great one for everyone involved. And, Saracens are a team which, people have their different views on where they've been in the past. The reality is they're a quality team, and we want to test ourselves against the best, and they're definitely up there with the best. So we look forward to that, huge challenge at the Rec on Sunday afternoon.
And just finally from me, with you likely to lose a number of players in the autumn, we don't know quite how many that will be just yet. But how important is this period when you've got your stars available to you?
I think it's important for a number of reasons. It's important because those guys want to play well in order to go away and get picked for England or Wales or Scotland in our case. It's also important that those guys, they earn the right to play for the club as well. They're not shoo-ins for the club, because there is people fighting for competition and fighting for places. So we want to keep it competitive here. We want people to want to play well for Bath in order to get picked for their countries. And it's also an important period for the lads who won't be going away to make sure that we keep up their understanding of the game, their fitness, everything, so that when these guys do go away and we have to make changes, they can slot in. So it's a big period all round. And I'm sure, everyone, the main thing is they want to first and foremost play well for Bath, which is a really exciting prospect.
So I'll just jump in one more. Did you get some clarity on the scrum? And again, not digging too much into Bristol, but do you feel like that you're going to be in a stronger place this weekend?
Yeah, I've had constructive conversations with the referees and the way the referees are managed, and how we can get the best out of each other, because ultimately the referees play such a huge part in the product and what people see and their understanding of the game, that we want them to understand how we want to play, so that that it's easier to referee us. Essentially, it's tough. And what we're not complaining about is the fact that referees might get decisions wrong. Understandably, it's really, really hard to get everything right, and we don't expect that. But where we've been this week is getting some clarity on the processes by which we can help understand each other a bit more, and allow the game to be shown in its best light. And we got that. And we got that. So it's positive.
Brilliant. All right, thanks, Stuart.
Hi, Stuart.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Hopefully that's not an expensive computer fix for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Getting a win over Saracens. What a way to kickstart the season that would be.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be fantastic. I think we, you take the results, obviously show that we've lost 3 games. I think we've shown a development in the time we've been away from the game and then coming back in this year. And I think within the games we've shown a development. A performance against Sarries that gets us the win along those lines would be fantastic, because it will show a genuine progression from this group and obviously individuals within the group.
Sarries did concede a try from open play in the first 2 games, but they let Newcastle in. Did you see enough from the Falcons, who troubled Saracens, particularly in the first half, to encourage you that you could do the same?
Yeah, for sure. I think that there are a quality side. There's no doubt about it. The way they play the game, they set themselves up to be able to defend in those blocks very, very well. They set the trap well. Against these guys, there's a number of tactics you can have to try and beat that trap and beat their defensive trap. But ultimately, you got to win the physical confrontation. The moments when it gets physical against them, you've got to come out on top. And so there's obviously a game plan against them, but there's also an element which is you've got to front up. You got to win the collisions, and you've got to stop them being dominant.
Like you've already mentioned, some of the attacking play against Bristol was great for Bath fans to watch, especially with some of the old names like de Glanville and Ajomu, a reminder of the past and now very much the future. Are there any more like that coming through the system at all? Like, age 13, 14 of former greats?
There's a lot of kids in the pathway. Like the lads are you can see it now that the influence that the Craig Lilly has with the pathway moving down. There's a lot of kids in the area who, they can see a genuine pathway. Every time Miles takes the field, or Josh, or Orlando, or Tom de Glanville, or Oj, like they can see themselves in those shoes. And I get to watch a fair bit of rugby from very young all the way up, watching my own sons, and then watching these guys. And there's certainly an awful lot of talent in this area, which is exciting for the future, definitely.
So there could be another father-son running out in the blue, black and white, then a young Hooper, maybe?
Maybe. There's 4 of them, so there's a good chance that one of them will get a chance one day, I'd say.
Do they play for a local club then?
They play for Bath, yeah. They Bath Youth, so Bath Minis, which is...
Yeah.
They play for them.
As for that game against Bristol, like we say, some of the attacking rugby was great to watch, and Bath overall throughout this season have been pretty high up in terms of clean breaks, defenders beaten. Obviously, though, the tries 5, same as Saracens, is the joint lowest in the league. Is that indicative of the old, red zone efficiency that they like to call it nowadays? In that you've been creating those chances, which is encouraging, off the back of the work that David Williams has been doing. But the frustrating point is that you haven't been converting as many as you'd like.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, as a coaching group, you'd rather be creating the chances, not converting them, than not creating them at all. I think the way that we've created them has been outstanding, even in like the game, against Newcastle, where we didn't have much red zone at all, but we did create opportunities to get in there.